Hi, everyone. This is Diana Sinton, and welcome to our year-end council meeting for UCGIS. I'm the executive director of UCGIS, a role that I've played for about 5.5 years now, and I always look forward to these opportunities to connect with our delegates. As we speak right now, our president is, let's see, I'm gonna be able to unmute his microphone. We've had a little technical problems. Alberto, can you go ahead and try to speak now?
Hello.
Okay, good.
Hello.
Alberto, can you hear us now? Alberto?
Hello, yes.
You can hear us.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
okay.
You're good to go.
Thank you. So sorry for the delay. So I want to welcome you to our year-end council meeting. We have a lot of items on the agenda, reports, symposium, committees, etc., etc. So let's start immediately by talking about the minutes. You have received the minutes and from the May 2018 council meeting. So I assume you have taken a look at them, and so in the interest of time, let's just take a moment and then I'll call a vote in just a minute or so. And so any comments or questions about the minutes? Anybody?
People's microphones are muted, but if anyone has something they'd like to add to the minutes or has any question about it, please use the question space and we'll respond to you there, and I can unmute microphones as needed too.
Okay. Okay, so I don't see if we have any comments, but let's call for a vote in favor.
Yeah, we didn't think through this very well, did we? I think in the past that I've created a poll for people to be able to pose it. So
okay.
If in the question spot you can just respond with an I if you or a nay. Thank you, Karen, for that, for starting with that for the 2015.
Yeah.
2018 minutes for the council meeting.
So okay, we'll look at the yes. If anybody let's do it like this. If anybody has is opposes or abstain or has questions, just please let us know. And I cannot see the screen. Okay.
Alberto, I'm gonna move you to be a panelist in this, and that's gonna let you see some other information as well. Okay, perfect. So hold on here.
Yes.
Okay. So now you should be able to see things too. Is there any no one else has responded with anything in the question space apart from eyes?
So okay, so let's approve the minute from the May 2018 council meeting. So next item in the agenda is the executive director's report. So Diana.
Okay. So I have two areas that I'd like to talk about today. One has to do with administrative and financial matters, and I think your screen is now advanced to this. We've had a pretty good year for adding members. Over the course of this year, we've had 4 institutions join that were either new members or renewed members. We'll have more information about that later when our membership committee speaks. The November finances have not been reconciled yet, but as of October 31st, our income and our expenses for our fiscal year were remarkably similar to each other, and that's a good thing. We have had all of our major expenses for the year take place at this point. We do still have 2 institutions who have not paid their 2018 dues, and as far as I know, they are not interested in dropping their membership. So I'm going to be reaching out to those schools again, although they've already received reminders that we need to have their 2018 dues. That means they haven't paid anything since 2017. So we need to have their 2018 dues in place by December 31st or the membership lapses. We have an investment account in Vanguard. We put $10,000 into it a couple of years ago. We, the stock market goes up and down, and it's not particularly up right now, so we only have $10,800 into this. The investment company or the investment committee hasn't met in a while. I think we may call a meeting of that group early in 2019 to see whether we might want to consider diversifying the portfolio that we have. We do have a new treasurer that joined us several months ago, Ed Chow from Texas State University, and I'm looking forward to being able to have someone that I can consult with about matters like that. One thing that I reported a year ago that was very exciting for UCGIS is that for the first time in a while, we had a grant that had allowed us or provided us with a certain amount of overhead. The 3-year Trellis project that you'll hear about a little bit later. Altogether, over the 3 years, UCGIS was slated to receive about $7,500 worth of overhead from that project. Unfortunately, working as a sub-awardee from the University of Maine, we were required to have a number of additional organizational insurances purchased, which basically of the 3 years will have cost us about $7,000. So we aren't going to really have that windfall that we thought we might have otherwise, but that's the price of doing business as we are right now. I wanted to mention to everyone that we will have a booth at the AAG conference in Washington, D.C. coming up in April. Perhaps also at the Esri Education Conference. This is not something that UCGIS has done in the past, but the expenses are relatively low to have a nonprofit booth, and we feel that this is a good way to be able to reach out to prospective members and let them know about the types of things we're doing. We do have a merchandise store. If you haven't yet purchased a UCGIS t-shirt or a water bottle or some other really exciting paraphernalia, the gift giving season is still happening right now, so it's not too late to go support UCGIS by getting some merchandise. I'm advancing now to the next slide of the Executive Director's report. This has to do with more programmatic issues. We had a very exciting symposium in May of 2018. The topic was Frontiers of Geospatial Data Science. As a group, we produced a white paper out of that, which is on our website, and it's been accessed quite widely. We also coordinated, as you know, with UCGIS for that event, the special issue of papers with AutoCarto, with UCGIS AutoCarto has, I think they are available online now, but it's going to be issue 1 of volume 46 for 2019. The 3 other areas that I'm particularly involved with from a programmatic level are the body of knowledge, the Trellis program, and the Geo projects activity. You'll hear later with individuals, from individuals about the body of knowledge and Trellis, so I'm not going to go into any details. I will just say a little bit more about Geo projects. The link that you can see, the live link at the Texas A&M website is up there. This is a UCGIS project that we're still hoping to, I've been talking about it for a few years now, but we're still hoping to have a broader launch for this and have it used much more widely going forward. So I just wanted to mention that to everybody, that it's still out there and needs some attention. That's the end of my executive director's report right now. If anyone has any questions about this, about any of these issues or anything else you might like to ask me, feel free to write something in the question spot and I can unmute your microphone as well. You all know my email. You hear from me pretty regularly, so I do encourage people to get in touch with me directly if you have other questions. I am in the process of coordinating with the board of directors to sign a contract for the next couple of years of work for UCGIS. So I do expect to be in this role for a little while longer. Alberto, I think that might be all for me.
Yeah, yes, and just a segue to what Diana just saw. We are in the process of finalizing the contract for the next 2 years, and some of you might have seen the draft contract already. Now, the next topic in our agenda is the preview of Symposium 2019. And then Diana is, I believe, now going to show us the website for the symposium. So there are two main things that we've been working on. One is, of course, the symposium itself. I mean, basically three main things we've been working on. One is the call for presentation on the theme of this year, which you should see, you are seeing right there on the page, and that's the geospatial humanities. Then we've been working on a sessions on strategic planning that Karen will cover in a moment, in a few minutes. And then, of course, we have the workshops. So if you look at the call that is now we have finalized, so it's on the geospatial humanities, and I'm pleased to say that we have an agreement. We were able to finalize an agreement with the International Journals of Humanities and Arts Computing, which is out of the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, and is one of the editors, David Bodenhammer, that I think many of you know, and he is the editor of the journal. He will be one of the two keynote speakers at our event. There is, the call and the details of the publications are in the call. You are seeing them right now. Notice the dates. Abstracts are due then on February 15, and then there are various other dates. The issue of the journal is expected to be, so this is a journal that publishes twice a year, in the fall and in the spring, and the idea is to have the journal coming out in March 2020. So that is one of the things that we're seeing. I don't know if you've had time to look at the call that is now scrolling. It's, as I said, it's on our website. Are there any questions or comments about that?
Alberto, I'll also show the workshops.
Yes, so that's a first part. The second part is the workshops. We have looking at different possibly 3 workshops. That's the idea, in addition to Trellis, of course. But one, so they are there with the descriptions. I will be running one of the workshops, and the others will be run by I'm sorry, Shilung and Stephen. Is that correct, Stephen?
The education ones, one will be with Steve Moore, who's the chair of our education committee, and the second one will be Eric Shook from University of Minnesota, the Developing Cyber Literacy for GI Science. That's affiliated with the current NSF project that he has.
Oh, okay, sorry, yes. So there are the descriptions there. So I think we should be able to have a good set of workshops that are quite different from each other. We are aiming to catch our traditional audience, and also especially the first one for an audience outside of GI science and possibly outside of geography. And so, as we talked about the last symposium, one of the things we want to do is to have a broad group of people coming to our symposium that are not only from GI science, but hopefully people from the humanities and others who are using GI science methods in their research and teaching and education. So I think unless there are questions, I think that's all I wanted to say about this. Now, there's a lot of information on the website, including the specifics of the calls, etc., etc. So if you have any questions, please address them to me and Diana. We don't have a full agenda for the symposium, but it will be similar to symposiums that we've had in the past in terms of activities. There will be room for conversations, etc. There are lightning talks, etc. One part of the symposium, which is basically we listen to suggestions and concerns and something that was asked for quite strongly at the last symposium was to have a strategic planning session, and that will be the third day. It's in the morning. And Karen, do you want to talk about these?
Yes, I can do that. So this is something that is going to have to happen during my year as president, which is 19 to 20. And it's timely because we established our original mission for the organization in 1994 at the founding meeting, which I think a few of the people in the audience were also there. 25 years is a long time for an organization like this. So it is time for us to reset our mission. And what we want to do on this half day on Thursday morning is to start the ball going, to start rethinking our mission, to think about what we've accomplished so far, what is yet to accomplish, and then do it as a working session with small group and large group discussions, and trying to get our minds around what we need to formulate in order to write a full strategic plan now that we enter the next quarter century. So we will have discussions at the table about the mission and goals. We will have discussions about what kinds of membership do we want, why, and then what we should be doing. Just the basic stuff, which is exactly what we did 25 years ago. So we're going to do it again, and let's see if we can restyle the organization to what the world needs now. Yay! Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Anybody wants to say anything about this last point or the symposium in general? Any comments or as I thought, we thought that Oh,
You can also raise your hand if you, again, I'd be happy to unmute your microphone if you have on your interface a little icon that lets you raise your hand. And I'm monitoring this, so if anyone would like to comment at all, please, please let us know, and we'll take care of that for you.
as I said, as Karen said, this is something, especially this last part. The symposium is it has a theme. It's very similar in structure to what we have done in the past, but it is important that this is something that we felt was very came out very clearly from the surveys we did, that there is a need to rethink what we want UCGIS to be. So we thought it important to do this at this point and then work on that next year with Karen. Okay, anybody have any question? If there are no questions, we can proceed with the next topic. And the next topic is an update on Trellis. And Kate, are you there?
I can't, is Kate here? Yes, Kate is now here. Kate, welcome, Kate. I just unmuted your microphone.
Thanks. Sorry, I was running from another meeting. Sorry. I guess I'm just in time though. So an update on Trellis. I think people probably have some notion of Trellis. So this is an NSF grant that we received to do workshops for training, leadership training for women in the GI sciences. And just as an aside, I would like to say that we sort of envision, I think what's one of the things that's unique about this is a collaboration between UCGIS and like 5 or 6 other UCGIS institutions. And so we see this as sort of a potential model that may be opportunities for others to do research collaborations with UCGIS along these lines. So, so it's myself and Lakshmi and Diana and Sarah Battersby, Barbara Buttonfield, Karen Kemp, and Libby Wentz. And our main activities are running workshops. And so we had our first workshop. Can you advance, I think, Diana? Or can I do that? Okay. So we had our first workshop in Madison just before the symposium last year, and our target population for the first workshop was mid-career women in GI science. So we had sent out a call for applicants, and we got a good response. We thought 47 applicants. We can only afford to include 15 in the workshop. So we had 15 very enthusiastic participants. We had a great workshop. We covered, again, several different topics from different career trajectories to balancing work-life balance, mentoring, and coaching, and again, a suite of themes around just developing leadership skills. So there's been sort of active follow-on by our first cohort of participants. They are actually meeting monthly. And I want to say one of the, I think, really successful follow-up pieces that we included in the grant was these Carolyn Mary mini grants. So the way this was set up is that any of our first cohort could apply for these mini grants. And we had 4 applications, and the 2 that we selected were, in a sense, continuing this workshop initiative. And so 3 of our participants were from universities, institutions in Georgia. And so they proposed to do this sort of a Trellis-based workshop with the same themes for women in Georgia. And so that's been, I think, very successful. They had 24 participants in their workshop. And the other Carolyn Mary mini grant went to Justine Blanford and Jane Reed. And their idea was to hold 2 workshops, one in Pennsylvania and then one in New York, representing kind of their home bases. And so the first one was held in 1st and 2nd of November. And again, similar themes and ideas. But I think and then the next one will be sometime in the spring in New York. So I think the really nice thing about these Carolyn Mary grants was that it's building and reaching and expanding the network, just connecting more women who are in GI science and in these regional sort of expansions of what we were able to do in the initial meeting. So I think that was a really positive outcome, and we've been really happy with what all of our first cohort has been doing. So the next steps. So actually, I think it's just Justine and Jane are planning to do a workshop or a panel session at AAG. Again, on this theme of women in leadership in GI science. So that'll be upcoming in Washington, D.C., again, part of AAG. And now we're in the planning stages for our second Trellis workshop, which will be in Washington, D.C., again, just in somewhat close association with the Symposium. So June 8th and 10th through 8 to 10. And we'll be using the Arizona State facility that's in Washington, D.C., which looks like a really nice venue. So for this workshop, our target population is now early career women in GI science. So just a plug for anybody out there, spread the word. We'll be sending out, we'll be pitching the applications very soon. So if people could spread the word of anybody who might be interested in participating, we would be welcoming applications again very shortly. Similar themes as shown here. So different career trajectories and leadership and mentoring and coaching. I left out one, the communication and language and dealing with obstacles and work-life balance. So these seem to be themes that resonated well with our first cohort, and we're thinking about how we tailor this for our second cohort. But so far things are going really well. And again, we've been really pleased with the outcomes and our first cohort and all of their activities. And that essentially summarizes what I wanted to cover for Trellis. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Diana and Karen and anybody else who's on the call who's a participant can jump in.
There'll be more information on the Trellis website soon about this, including the call for applicants will go out in the next several weeks, and the website is going to be available for people to apply for that. So do encourage everyone listening is affiliated with a member institution. So do encourage your own PhD students, late stage PhD students, and other early career.
Covers PhD students, postdocs, early career faculty. Yep.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay, thank you, Kate. If there are no questions, the next item on the agenda is update on the body of knowledge. I believe John is here. John?
Yes, I'm here. You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay, so the body of knowledge is now coming to the conclusion of its second year. The first body of knowledge course was published in 2006 and had its origins that spanned more or less the decade before then. So all of us, I think, can appreciate how much the world has changed from sort of the period 1996 to 2006 compared to today. And since we started in 2016, basically the field is divided into 10 knowledge areas. And then across those 10 knowledge areas, there's approximately, as I look at it today, about 430 topics. And as per the metrics you see in front of you, we have 76 expanded and published entries that either cover new or updated topics. Things that are different here is that there's a greater attention to cartography and visualization, to remote sensing, and to domain applications, for example. You can see on the UCGIS website all the details. And there's about another 44 entries that are somewhere in the reviewing and revising pipeline. And we have committed authors for about another 100 of the topics. And so the overall metrics for the moment are that we have 10 knowledge areas. We currently have 8 active knowledge area editors and 2 more knowledge areas under my tutorship for the moment. We've published entries for about 18% of the topics which we thought covered the field. We have confirmed authors for about 40 or 45% of the topics overall. And so I've been working the last couple of months with a postdoc here at USC to look across the field and try to identify potential authors for all the remaining topics. So that's a little more than 200 topics total. And we anticipate rolling out invitations to all of these individuals in the next 1 or 2 months. I'll talk about the progress of that in a second. And then the postdoc and I have also been through the Scholar One site, and given that we now have 76 entries published, we've also used somewhere between maybe 100 and 200 of our colleagues as reviewers. And so with Diana's help, we now have on the UCGIS Body of Knowledge website formal acknowledgement of those that have contributed their opinions about the viability of various topics from then to now. And then last, working with Wenwen Lee and others, I've recently completed a full review of the data management knowledge area, and that's resulted in a sort of a refresh of the topics there. The number compared to the 2006 body of knowledge is quite a lot less. And I've been working with Wenwen Lee to now issue invitations using the list that Lele Duan, my postdoc, and I have been busy working on the last couple of months. And the first fruits of this new push under data management have already been realized this morning, where a new author has signed up and committed to write on, I think, topological relationships under the data management tag. And so going forward, the goal is to ramp up and accelerate the recruitment of authors, the review, the gathering of submissions and the review of submissions, one knowledge area at a time. And so I've the last couple of 2-3 weeks been working on data management, and I expect over the next month to diffuse my effort across the other knowledge areas in hopes of helping the knowledge area editors find more authors, get them signed up, and get this project moving to a better situation than we find it in today. Thank you.
Thank you, John. If there are any questions for John or comments or... Okay,
this is Diana. Apart from the identification of authors that John has been talking about, it's also very important for us to have reviewers of the topics. This is also an opportunity for people. There's such a wide range of topics here, and this is an opportunity too for a late-stage graduate student to serve as a good opportunity to be a reviewer. So this is a call to everyone listening right now. It would be great if you would accept the invitations to be reviewers for some of these, and if you see topics that are within the body of knowledge that you know people who would be good authors for, or people who would be willing to do peer review for these topics that get submitted, we would very much appreciate that. It's something that we're thinking that we'll be able to have this whole thing complete and updated. Every topic will have been touched or updated by the end of 2020. That's our goal, and I think if everyone contributes a little bit, we'll make that happen.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now let's move to the committee reports, and we have a lot to talk about here. So first, Paolo, for communications.
Sorry, hold on. I've got to find his Paolo. There we go.
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, thanks. So I'm Paolo Raposo, and I am the communications chair for UCGIS as of most of last year. Mainly, I've been focusing on our webinar series and getting new folks to provide quality content for us to tune into. As many of you know, having a monthly colloquium-like webinar series is one of our member benefits. So we just had one yesterday or the day before, I'm forgetting, gosh. But so there are a couple more coming up. Dr. NJ Hu is lined up to speak to us in late January, probably on some matter around spatial semantics or data mining. And Daniel Strebe, who is works at Tableau software. He's arguably one of the world's foremost experts on map projections and coordinate systems and such, will speak to us in February. Otherwise, I'll continue to line up people for an interesting talk series and do my other main job, which is to disseminate information in general for the committee about things like conferences and workshops and grants and what have you. Thanks.
Okay, any questions or comments for Paolo? If not, let's move to the next. Oh. Okay, if not, let's move to the next topic, next report, Steve, for education.
Hi, this is Steve Moore. I'm the Education Committee Chair, and the committee has been essentially working on two different projects this fall. One of them is what we're calling a GIS&T body of knowledge environmental scan, which has two components. We've gotten into the back end and looking at Google Analytics and examining how folks from across the world are accessing the online body of knowledge and what entries they're focusing on and how long they're staying on certain pages and how they're entering the site. We'll be looking at that in more detail in the coming months. We've also designed a Qualtrics survey to look at prospective use of the body of knowledge and how people might use it for educational purposes. And we intend to have a session during the 2019 Symposium, which will be focused on the body of knowledge. And we'll also include the European body of knowledge and how they've been approaching the project and some collaborations that could occur between the educational applications of both documents. Another project that has been we've moved along slowly on is the teachgis.org referatory for content, tutorials, and other kinds of materials for teaching GI science in higher education. And then finally, mentions UCGIS education priorities, which is also, it's included as a workshop that's going to be defined on the day before the symposium workshops. There'll be a session held on looking at the education priorities that were defined, I believe, a little bit more than 20 years ago for UCGIS, and then brainstorming the new education priorities for the coming, I don't know if it'll be 20 years, but maybe the coming 10 years that would fit into the strategic planning discussions that will be held at the end of the symposium. So thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions or comments.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, if there are no questions, let's move to the next item in the agenda, which is the report from External Relations. Aaron?
Aaron, are you online? I didn't see your name here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do this report for Aaron. So Aaron is our External Relations Committee Chair, and many of you will have heard about the updates that he provides on things in the past year. There are a lot of activity around congressional legislation. UCGIS was very pleased that the modified version of the Geospatial Data Act was signed into law. It ended up being part of the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2018. And you can find more details about the Geospatial Data Act online. Aaron also would have been talking with you about the statistical disclosure control matters around Census 2020. I don't know what details he would have provided there, but we'll have a copy of this report. We can look at some of the different things here. One other final item that Aaron was going to mention was the fact that UCGIS has been approached by the National Council for Science and the Environment, NCSE, which is a nonprofit Washington, D.C. based group. They also have institutional members the way that we do. There are a number of ways that geospatial science and technologies and science and the environment interact, and they've invited me to come down to their January 2019 annual conference just to explore possibilities of ways we might want to do some collaborative programming with them. So it's coming up pretty soon, and I'll report back to the board and the delegates about anything that comes out of those conversations. Are there any, I'm sorry that Aaron's not here right now to tell us about some of the census details, but are there anyone have any questions about these matters? This is an area, this external relations used to be our policy and legislation committee. It's one of the original committees from we were founded, along with education and research. It's a very important one for us. We are hoping to continue to do even more work in the external relations partnership venues in the future. So a committee that you're encouraged to get involved with if you're interested.
Okay, thank you, Diana. Next on our agenda is the committee from a report from the membership committees. The floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Swift from the University of Southern California. I'm brand new as the membership committee chair, And I've been working with Diana for the last couple of weeks as ramping up as membership committee chair. I've been following all of the many emails back and forth with new members and renewing members, and contacting other potential members. And Diana very kindly prepared these slides for me for this council meeting today. So I'm taking over from Martin Schwabarski from Portland State. So to summarize, we have one new member, Department of Geography and Environment, University of Denver. As of July, we have Clemson now, and both University of Massachusetts and Wisconsin-Madison have renewed. So we are currently voting on applications for memberships that will begin in 2019 for KU Leuven, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, and Yale University. So do take a look at that email if you haven't already voted for if the delegates already haven't, if you haven't voted yet, you should have received the email on Monday, and that will be closing today, the voting at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We have one member that terminated, the University of Michigan, where the person who was our champion moved to a new position elsewhere. So lastly, we'll be talking about this. The nature and the structure of our memberships will be a big topic during the June 2019 Symposium in our session on strategic planning. So I'm really looking forward to all of us talking about this. And that's it for this slide. Any questions?
I'll comment. This is Diana. Thank you, Jennifer, for doing that. Jennifer's really been in this role for only a few weeks, so I appreciate her willingness to jump in and learn these ropes. I'd like to just say a quick comment about University of Michigan. You know, we at any given point we have strong delegates and delegates who are less engaged, or generally it's just a matter of awareness on campuses, but it's something that UCGIS has to deal with as an organization, that we are very connected individually with certain people on campuses and with certain departments, and at times it's just difficult for, once some people leave an institution, it's difficult for us to always quickly rebuild with some of those other ones. It's just ironic. I'm monitoring my email right now as well, and I actually got an email from somebody at the University of Michigan who I don't think knew that we were in a council meeting right this minute, saying that that they're still possibly going to consider keeping their membership. So these things happen, and we're glad when new members come in, and we always welcome back members who may have lapsed. So thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer and Diana. And in this spirit, the slide, Michigan may come back. We hope they do. But notice that we have one new member, three renewed or new members as of July, and then we have 2 prospective members. So that is very, very positive. Thank you all for, especially Diana and Jennifer. And
we had a question here. Wendy Guan from Harvard has asked about what is the total number of membership. Now, I think that we expect to finish the year with 64 or 66. I can't remember right this minute.
Diana, I think in the slide it says 66.
Perfect, great. So 66, which is almost close. I mean, at some point in about 2001 or 2002, when UCGIS was relatively new, I think we had a high of about 80 members, and then we've been down to a low of about 40. So, and a lot of those original members were actually some corporations and businesses and things and government agencies that weren't necessarily going to stay as long-term memberships. So I think it's pretty good that we're back into the mid 60s, and I think that, as Jennifer said, we're going to be talking about this. Jennifer and Karen said the nature and structure of UCGIS membership is going to be something that will be an important part about our strategic planning going forward. Okay.
Okay, thank you. The final report, committee report, is from Shilung on the research committee. Shilung.
Shilung, your microphone is muted. I'll unmute you. I can't. Shilung, are you still there? Shilung, there you go.
Okay, now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is Ren Shah at the University of Tennessee, Research Committee Chair. For 2018, we had our UCGIS Research Award. We received 4 nominations, and Helen at UC Santa Barbara was selected as the award winner. And then also last year, due to the changes in the federal government, there were some concerns about potential impacts on National Science Foundation's funding priorities and the funding labor. So we invited Dan Shui, who was the NSF Social and Economic Sciences Division Director back then, as a speaker at our 2018 UCGIS Symposium to share the information insights with us. And also last year, we pursued a possibility of engaging in NSF Triparts Plus X program by trying to promote geospatial data science into that program. We approached 2 existing triparts teams. Unfortunately, they already had partners, so it didn't work out. But we will continue to monitor this program and other relevant NSF programs by promoting geospatial data science. And for 2019, to support the geospatial humanities theme at the 2019 UCGIS Symposium, we will offer a space-time analysis for human dynamics research workshop at the symposium. And also for this year's Research Award, we already have our call for nominations ready for distribution. Diana will make an announcement very soon. So we look forward to receiving nominations from our member institutions. And finally, in order to build on the geospatial humanities theme of 2019 UCGIS Symposium, we plan to collect inputs on the major research topics and challenges of pursuing geospatial humanities, because there have been many efforts out there, such as digital humanities, geohumanities, geospatial humanities, computational social sciences, even computational human geography efforts out there. So all these efforts, they overlap with each other, but each of them also has some specific focus and perspectives. So we think it would be probably worthwhile to try to collect some inputs in terms of how we could better integrate all these together. And I look forward to your input and feedback on this one as we pursue it. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Shilung or for any of their committees that you might have thought of?
We had one question come through from Shashi Shekhar, who's currently our past president, wondering if we had already invited NSF program officers or managers to the 2019 event. And we don't have any to the best of my ability, we don't have, best of my knowledge rather, I don't know if we have anything specific set up. I know there's been a lot of transition at NSF lately, but that's certainly something that we will pursue happening. It's always easier in the years when we are located in DC and people can come right there. So Shashi, that will be something that we follow through on, yes.
We have invited, if I remember correctly, we have somebody on the program from NEH, correct?
That is correct. One of the keynote speakers from NEH, Brett Bobley, who's their CIO, is going to be on the Symposium program, but we don't currently have anyone from NSF. I don't believe that we have confirmed to attend.
No, we will reach out to them. NEH has supported digital humanities and spatial humanities programs. And so it's important to have them there, as it's important to have NSF there. So we reach out. As Diana said, there's been some changes, and we are happy to reach out if you have suggestions for specific people that might be especially interested in these topics, or just interested in just somebody from NSF. Just please let Diana and myself know. Thank you for the question. So, any other questions for the committees? Okay, so the next topic that we have is the information about new members. We have already talked about this just a little bit, but this is a chance of going a little bit more in details on the 2 new member applications. So Jennifer and Diana.
Hi, this is Jennifer again. I'll just talk briefly about the 2 institutions that have applied for membership. Everybody received links to their full applications. That was in the email on Monday. So the purpose of these slides is just to give you a quick sense of these potential members. And many of you know Danny Vandenbroek. He's come to several of the meetings over the last several years. You can see that there's a wide range of research and focus areas, including geomatics, multivariate statistics, spatial data infrastructures, and they're very, very strong in the FOSS4G and also web mapping issues that we face in a lot of our these kinds of classes. So one area that we think we as UCGIS can particularly connect with KU Leuven about is the European BOK, which is very exciting. We're eager to collaborate with them on this. And also they are the key people around the EO4G project, which we'll be able to talk with them and hear more about. And they're people are, that we can collaborate with. So next slide. Our delegates for Yale University are Miriam Olivares, who's very active, and Dana Tomlin. So Miriam has spent many months putting together this website. You can see it right there, Center for Science and Social Science Information. She did a survey across campus to find out who is using GIS and GIS science. And that website contains lots of information about all the projects that are going on and the people who are doing research there. And there's many people who could contribute and would have interest in what we're doing. And these 3 noted here are just an example. Karen Sato in Urbanization and Global Change, the Yale Center for Earth Observation, and Bill Rankin in the History Department. So with their membership, it will offer their faculty an opportunity to connect with other GIS experts across our networks. And so we think this is all very exciting to add everyone to UCGIS. And that's it.
Thank you, Jennifer. This is Diana. I'll just jump in and say, if you're a delegate for UCGIS, you received a ballot 2 days ago to be able to cast your support for or not for including SADL at KU Leuven and Yale University as a basic member and a full member, respectively, to UCGIS. That we wanted to talk about this a little bit now so you had more of a chance to hear about them. That voting, that election will close at 5 o'clock Eastern today. So if you've been waiting to hear a little more information about these schools, this has been a chance to do that. If you've got any other questions, now's the time to ask. Otherwise, we very much appreciate your casting your ballot. That's the part of shared governance that's important with UCGIS. Yeah, only the delegates. Many of you on the phone, if you're affiliated with a member institution, you're always welcome to come to our council meetings like this, but only the official delegates from an institution will have gotten the actual ballot. Is there a question that came in? Great question. Amy Rock has said, what are some valid reasons for denying membership to an applicant? And I think this is something that will be clarified a little more in our conversations for strategic planning. The truth is that I'm not even sure what a valid reason would be. If a membership, if an institution or an organization applied and their activities were really not aligned with what UCGIS does, and we didn't think it would make sense for them to be a member, then that would be fine. If a K-12 school district somewhere applied for membership and they had the money to do it, we would probably say maybe we could work with you on a project, but being a member of UCGIS doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've only been in this role for 5 years, but in my time here, I'm not aware of any institution that's applied that hasn't been accepted into membership. I think in part because typically you wouldn't go to the effort of applying if you didn't know that you were aligned with UCGIS. Does anyone else on the executive committee or anyone else with a history of UCGIS like to comment on that?
Well, I guess this is Karen. I guess I could certainly say from the historical point of view, we had a very explicit requirement for who were members and why we had them in 1994. But all of that has gone by the wayside as we have evolved and as we have achieved some of our original objectives, which was to get everybody to understand the value of GI science, which I think we kind of did a good job of that. So it absolutely, I think the ones we have right now, just to speak personally, are perfectly suited to be members. And the oddballs that Diana suggested are perfectly good examples of ones we wouldn't want. And I think in between, who knows? And we definitely have to get our mind around this in the next year.
Right. I'll make one other comment. Karen said that very well, that originally back in 1994-95 when UCGIS started, GI science was something that really wasn't well understood outside of a geography department, for example. And so back in 1994-95, in those years, as part of the application requirement, a letter from the president of a university, in fact, was required to be part of the package, committing, documenting the interest of that institution, that whole institution in being a member. At this point, we're able to get, at this point, we have achieved a lot. There are many people on university campuses that know a lot about GI science, and it's not necessary to go to the highest levels of the administration to make sure that that's understood. We have a lot more support from people at the provost level and deans and people like that, heads of libraries. So I think we have certainly one of the things that's changed tremendously in the last 20 years is the way that GIS and GIS science are known and are integrated across university campuses. Was there any other question here about this?
Okay, so we are getting to the end. If there are no other questions, it is the time of the year, I think, in which we think about leadership roles for UCGIS, and we have openings for the board of directors and executive committee. I don't know if, Diana, can you open the page or? So we have in particular, if you scroll down to directors, we have the terms of 2 directors that are aspiring soon. And so if you have any interest in serving in this role, please, or if you know somebody who may please volunteer or have them volunteer. It's important. And I think we also have we are of course looking for a new president, for the new president-elect, more precisely for the next symposium. And do we have also committee chairs? Oh, we have an open position of secretary also for committee chairs. I think we are set, except for external relations that expire actually at the end of the symposium. So Diana, do you want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of these, if you want?
Right. Thank you for that. So as everyone probably knows, I'm the only employee, and I'm just a half-time employee for UCGIS. Everybody else who works with UCGIS is a faculty or academic staff from one of our member universities. We have an important and ambitious agenda to achieve with the help of all of these volunteers. If you were on the call right now and you see your face up here, thank you very, very much for the work that you do. Our past president, Shashi Shekhar, leads the nomination, the process of pulling together nominees who will be running for elections. That'll be happening in the next few months, and then the elections themselves will take place right around the time of our symposium. So I would just like to say I think everyone knows that contributing to this opportunity is an important part of shared governance. It's also, for people out there, an important opportunity for national level professional service. So please, if you know someone at your institution who might be interested in contributing to UCGIS in this capacity, the leadership positions are all listed here, but I would also like to mention that just in terms of contributing to UCGIS efforts, authors and reviewers and editors for the body of knowledge are a very important activity too. You don't need to be a delegate, an official delegate, to take on any of these leadership roles either. So there's opportunities for people to get involved in, many opportunities for people to be involved from a given campus. Those are all my comments.
So questions or comments? Okay, so next, let me wrap up basically by, I don't have any new business. I think we covered everything, but So we have a call for the symposium. We have agreement with a journal, which is an interdisciplinary journal. It's quite widely read from researchers and scholars interested in the digital humanities and the spatial humanities. They just had a special issue on this topic. So please advertise the symposium and the call to your networks. Please do that. Also, we are gonna have a series of workshops. Please let people know that we have this workshop. And as we just talked about, there are opportunities for serving UCGIS as leadership positions of various type. Please let people know that we have these opportunities. And also for the, as Diana just remarked, for the GIS, for the body of knowledge, we are also, there are opportunities there for people who might be interested in. One important thing is that I'm sure you know this already, but there are opportunities at all levels at this point, starting from PhD students all the way to the senior people that might want to take leadership roles. So please advertise, please let people know of what is coming. I don't have any other new business. If there are comments, if this is open for, I open the floor. If you wanna something on your mind that you want to discuss with us on this topic or other topics related to UCGIS. We are ahead of schedule, so we have time to talk if somebody wants to.
One announcement that I'll make is that the calls for the annual awards are about to go out probably tomorrow. So our education award, our research award, and our mentoring award, our Carol and Mary mentoring award for 2019, all of those calls will go out, calls for nominations for those. We'll have a new online system to accept the nominations themselves. The deadlines for the nominations for all of those are going to be February 1st, I believe. So anyone in the world, any scholar or educator or researcher is eligible to receive the award, but only people from affiliated institutions are able to make the nominations. So we encourage all of you in this other way to identify those people out there who deserve this type of recognition.
Any other comment or questions or anything you on your mind you want to share with everybody? Okay, if this is all, thank you for attending and for your participation. And if you have any questions or follow-up on concerns, please let us know. Diane and I know, and we'll address them. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the end of your semesters.